In this video, we're going to look at the Modification Processor screen, which allows you to add costs and modify your existing inventory. First off, there's a couple of basics. You have to have an item that you want to modify. Of course, it has to be a stock item. And the other requirement is that it has to have an attribute called Modify Base. This may be a different description in yours, but for the most part, it will look something like this. This is going to tell it to show up in that modification processor screen when we go to it. Of course, we have to have something on hand in order to modify it. Another item that you're going to have is some type of add-in item. Basically another item that you're going to use to add cost into your existing inventory. This is typically some type of generic item, whatever's being done to the item, whether it be freight charges, some type of processing, whether it be painting or heat treating, slitting a coil, something like that. You have to have that other item, and we're going to issue that to our vendor and receive it in for whatever they're going to charge us for. So let's just do that real quick. So I have my PO, and I'm just going to do a receipt here. And so I would do this at the point where the processing had been done. Whenever these charges have been incurred, I would go ahead and do this receipt for the cost that the vendor is going to charge me. Just like any other receipt for a non-stock item. Now I'm going to go to the Modification Processor screen. First thing we want to do is pick the warehouse that we're going to do our modify in. The inventory must be in this warehouse, as well as the charges that were received. You have internal charges up here at the top, which is set by a rule. And below that, you're going to have things that were on a PO. These add-ins that were on a PO and have been received and not yet used. So here you can see the one that we just received. Has the PO number here. You can also filter by PO number at the top. I'm going to select that item, and I'm going to tell it the quantity that I'm going to use. If all 10,000, in this case pounds, are going to be used, I would just leave it at that. If we're only going to process 5,000 of that, we can change it, and it will leave 5,000 for us later. You can see that the cost available and cost to use, the cost to use is going to change as these numbers change. So in this case, I'm going to take $520 and move that into some of my inventory. Then this other color here, this orange peach color, you would pick a coil. Let's pick these here. Typically this would add up to your total amount. If it was 10,000 pounds, I'd have 10,000 pounds here. I may be a little over or a little under, but that's beside the point. Pick the, in this case they're coils, but pick the items that you're going to move the cost into, and then transfer them to the bottom by using this transfer button. There's a couple options here. Cost by lot, that is going to allocate your costs into your different lot numbers by lot, and then your options here, allocate by catch unit. If you have a item set up that has a catch unit, typically this is weight, then you would want to have that set. Both of these are set by default. So in most cases, you just leave those alone and click transfer. You'll notice that it moves those items to the bottom here. And we can do several things on the bottom. We can change the item code. You notice that we have an old item and we have a new item here that we can change, which is bolded. You can change the quantities, and then you can change the lot numbers if you want. And the cost that I chose at the top, which in this case was $520, will automatically be allocated amongst these lots and by weight. In this case, the catch unit in this case for coils is pounds, so it's going to allocate by weight. So just as an example, let's say I wanted to change this. I would change this item here to, let's say, some other item code. I'll change it to a 24-inch. And I can do a couple things over on the right. I can slit that, which will give me 2 coils now. You notice that the original both came from lot number 423. And now if I want new lot numbers, I could type those in here, or I can just tell it to generate new lot numbers, in which case it'll put a consecutive running on your lot counter. Put some consecutive numbers in here. These can always be overridden if you want to just type over them. You can do that as well. Okay. Once you slit something, that means that it's going to break that ratio between foot and pounds, so you can start changing these if you need to. In this case, I can take this and I can change pretty much anything I want. So if there was something that was scrapped, you lost some footage or whatever, you can change that. It's always going to allocate by this weight, whatever the weight is in this column. So once you're done allocating the costs and making your changes, you click the process button at the top. Process items, yes. And in this case, I'm processing coils, so it's going to pop up a coil receipt form for each of the coils here. So let's just run through these. Click Save. Modification is complete. Do you want to print a summary? This is just a report. You can reprint that report at any time. That's in Reports Item Control. Once you're done, you'll notice that it refreshes the grid. The charges that I used have fallen off of this because I've used everything there. And if there were some new coils that I had made, now they'll show up in this warehouse. One other thing that I should mention, down here at the bottom, you can actually change the location as well. So if they're at an outside processor location, another warehouse, and that you're receiving them into yours, you can actually change the warehouse on the bottom here. That'll do the transfer for you as well.